Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is starting up the upgrade utility again. And now that it's open, what I'm going to do is in the background open up another terminal. And you can see it's just gone ahead and rewritten things. What I then did is I did the linking as after the fact, after I've already opened it. So now my COM3 should be pointing to dev tty USB. So when I did that just by doing remove COM3 and then doing the lns dev tty USB1 COM3. And that's what got that visible there for me. So now what I'm going to try and do is actually load up the hand controller file still. We've still got it waiting patiently over here. Kind of hard to see, so click My Computer, Z, Home, PANOPTES, Downloads, hand controller. So now we have the file type loaded, the file version. We are hoping COM3 actually works this time, and going to click Upgrade. So we can see it is connecting. Kind of blanked out here, and it said connect failed, so it at least tried to do something a little bit better. That had been a while on this, so what I'm going to do is reset, turn off the power to the mount, hold enter, and turn it back on. And now immediately press the upgrade here. And I would expect it to pick up pretty immediately. So let's see if the COM4, so that fails right away, as we would expect. So while that's failing in the background, let's take a look at our instructions. So we selected the hand controller, the file type, and the version, and we clicked the upgrade button. So, and it gets a little tricky with some of the other ones you'll see. So that's why I was double checking the process. Let's try this again with the Wine upgrade utility. Browse, My Computer, Z, Home, PANOPTES, Downloads, hand controller. Now I'm going to go back to my terminal and verify what my COM3 is. My COM3 still should be my USB 1. And actually, let's just go for the process for COM4, just because I don't actually know which USB it is. So it could be COM4, so I removed COM4, and now I'm doing ln-s dev USB COM4, and then LSL to view that. And see that 4 is now pointed at USB 0. So the upgrade on 3 failed. Let's try 4 now. And we immediately got upgrading up here on the screen here, and as you can see, we are getting our happy little controller or progress bar that's going along here. So perfect. This is the hand controller that's upgrading. So I'm going to, while that's finishing up, I'm going to flip back to our instructions. So let's let that go through its process. It said upgrade successful. My hand controller there restarted. I'm going to close this. So exit upgrade utility after successfully, which I just did. Power cycle the mount, so I'm going to close this down. And here is where it says where it's saying I should ignore any messages until all 4 have been done. So I'm going to turn it on, and I don't see any errors at this point. It just brought me into the standard screen. Sorry, that's very hard to see and focus on. But it brought me into the standard screen. that we would see with our hand controller. So moving on, what we're going to do next is the main controller board. So this does change a little bit the process. So the first thing I want to do is we no longer need to use the hand controller. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect that from the HBX port over here. And we won't even actually look at the hand controller, so I'm going to set that aside. So then we have our remaining RJ40 or RS232 port that goes on the same side as the power into the mount right here. I'm making sure the mount is turned off. So select that off, plug in the RS232 here. And so that's step one, that's step two. So locate the download software and click on upgrades. So let's go ahead and start our software back up again. And what I want to do is in the terminal verify that it has not rewritten my ports yet. So I still have COM3 and COM4, great. So here's my upgrade utility. So it's saying locate download software and click on upgrades. So let's do that. So browse, my computer, Z, home, PANOPTES, downloads. I'm now doing the main board. So I'm clicking open. And I am clicking COM port 4. Now before I do that, these steps are a little out of order. What this number 3 here saying the upgrade, it wants me to do that after, which is down right here. So basically I selected my main board file right here as part of step number 4. So I've entered the main board and I've selected my correct COM port 4 right here. So here's where the trickiness comes in. What you want to do is have the timing. It's a little bit more specific on the RA and the deck. It'll say right over here. But what I want to do here is click upgrade and then turn on the mount. So click on right here. I'm going to click on upgrade and then I'm going to click on the mount. And then it should immediately move to connecting. So connected and initializing. So perfect. So this is the main board firmware that's getting updated. We will let it run through that, and we're going to power cycle this each time that we go through the process as well. If we take a look, I'm going to leave this in the background, but it says turn the mount power off, turn on the mount, and wait 10 seconds to allow the upgrade to finish before we move on. So we power cycle it, turn it on, basically power cycle it twice, but we leave it on for 10 seconds. So it's saying my wine is not responding. I'm going to hit wait there because it's communicating. Okay, so I clicked wait on the wine. It's now finished. So I'm going to close this down, and then I'm going to toggle the power off. Then I'm going to turn it back on for 10 seconds. So then I'm going to turn it back off again. So going on to the RA and the deck, we still have everything connected as before, our RS232 port, our power. So what we are going to do here is, so here's where the big bold timing is. The timing between powering on and clicking the update is critical. Basically the same thing that we've seen before. I'm going to go ahead and open up the upgrade utility. I am going to select browse, my computer, Z, home, PANOPTES, downloads, and I'm going to do the RA first. So clicking RA. I'm going to select the COM port 4. And then before they do that, I'm going to go and read again what it says. So what it says on point 6 here is switch the on-off button to turn the mount power on and click the upgrade button immediately. So this is a little bit different from what I did before, where I clicked upgrade and then I turned the mount power on. Here I want to turn the mount power on and then click the upgrade. And it does seem to be sensitive. I've had times where I've had to do it a whole bunch of times and times where I don't do it a whole bunch of times. So let's give it a try though. So what I want to do is have my finger hovering over upgrade. I'm going to click over and then button. And if it works successfully, what we'll get is that initialization and the progress bar. Otherwise it should hopefully fail pretty quickly, if not. So right there we get the connect failed. So this is where I'm going to turn it off and then on upgrade. So I did it a little quicker that time. It failed, so I'm going to turn off the mount again. So switch and upgrade. I almost think I need to wait a little bit longer, despite it saying that you need to do it immediately. What I found with some of the later mounts, the IEQ30s, is that's not as true. You don't need to do it quite as immediate, and in fact sometimes waiting is a little bit better. So I'm going to flip it off. I'm going to casually flip it on and then move my finger slowly and then hit upgrade. And that worked a lot better. So you can see that connects pretty immediately. So despite the instructions saying immediately, I would just do it casually, and that seemed to work just fine. So this is the RA that's upgrading, so we will do the same thing with the deck and sort of repeat that whole process, including the 10-second power cycle in between. So this one is upgrade successful. Close that. Close the power down here. Turn the power back on for 10 seconds. And I'm going to turn it off again. So I'm going to start my upgrade utility. Select browse, my computer, Z, home, PANOPTES, downloads, and finally the deck is the final firmware to update here. So I'm going to select 4. And then the same thing as before, I'm assuming. I can casually flip this and then move my finger and then click the button. And that seemed to work as well. So no need to really rush that on the immediate. You can see I did it pretty casually there, and everything seemed to work just fine. So what I'm going to do after this is, once that has finished, is I want to close that down. And what I'm going to do is then actually flip back to my external webcam big like. I am going to unplug the RS-232. Actually, I'll leave the RS-232 plugged in for now, but I'm also going to plug in my hand controller on the other side. And I'm just double checking the firmware is what I'm going to do. So turn this on by hand. Wait for that to come up. It's very hard to see on this webcam, but that's okay. I'm going to hit menu, And then I'm pressing up to go to the bottom of the list, and then the second one up is firmware information. And now, looking at the firmware information, everything is updated like I would expect from 2019 of this year. Note that the catalog is still from 2015. It has not been updated, but we won't worry about that so much. So perfect, all the firmware has been updated, and we did that all with the Nook itself, and so we didn't have to leave anything. So now our mount should be ready to go. We can hit back here and back here. And there's a couple of things we'll want to do with the park position and so forth once we get it on up here, but for right now, those are the basic software updates. Actually, let's run through. So I'm going to stop this video and start a new one with some of the other basic settings we'll want to look at.